always cool when you have an assistant coach with an NBA team who's also a streetball legend at the same time. God Shammgod, assistant coach with the Dallas Mavericks, joins us today. Sir, what's going on?
Man, it's all good, man. I'm just, just working. Just, we just got finished having practice and all that. So just doing that.
The Sham Shake. I think McDonald's owes you a couple dollars.
In that case, then a lot of people owe me a couple dollars. You know what I'm saying? Back then it wasn't, we ain't have NILs and all that stuff. So, I was born 20 years too early, man, before all that.
Yeah, but listen, man, you got a Puma sneaker. So I'm sure that with the Puma sneaker that you have and the clout that you have as assistant coach with the Mavs, I think your people need to call McDonald's and get some type of partnership. I think that's ingenious.
Yeah, that would be. I got to get a managing team first. But yeah, trust me, that would be good.
All right.
There's a lot of loose money out there.
When you get it, I just want my 10%. That's all.
Oh, man.
Listen, you are in a very unique position because I feel like you were always famous before you were famous. But then when you were famous, you were more famouser, if I could borrow a word that's not a word. Do you think that if you had the chance to go back in time, would you want to play longer in the NBA, or would you want your move to be a playground move?
That's a good question that people always ask. And, for me, it's like, I'm a very spiritual person, faith-based person. So like, for me, it's just, everything's in God's hands, you know what I'm saying? As long as it's organic, I love it. Yeah, but I want to play in the NBA 20 years and be a Hall of Fame. Yeah. Could I have messed it up at the same time? Yeah. So I think it played out exactly how it's supposed to play out.
What was your time like with the Washington Wizards when you played?
It was good. Like I said, I was blessed. It was, one of the happiest times of my life. I got drafted to the Washington Wizards. I wish I would stay more than 2 years and not get hurt. At that time I was supposed to go to the Knicks, and the Knicks drafted Jonathan Thomas. And, I would have loved that scenario too. Unfortunately, those two scenarios didn't work out. And then I went overseas to China and made a great living, and all the hard-earned work I put in before making it to the NBA and stuff like that just took on a life of its own. And then when I came back, the process was, like you said, more famouser. So it was just like, one of those things that just happened, and it only could come from God for stuff to happen the way it happened, especially like that. Because now, today I'm more famous than people that played in the NBA 20 years, people that's been in the Hall of Fame, people that's been all-stars and all this other stuff in this game that we call basketball, this game that we love. And it's funny because when I sit back and I was young, I used to always be like, man, I don't want to be rich. I just want to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And then I always was like, man, I just want to be able to inspire people. I'd rather inspire people than be a Hall of Fame person. And when I look back at notes now, because I still have those books, like I used to write in journals and stuff. And it's funny because when I look back at the young Sham, the Sham that's like 15 years old and all that, all the stuff that I was said has came true. It didn't hit me till like I said, like 3 years ago. I was just cleaning out some stuff. I was looking at these journals I wrote, and I was just reading them to see, because I haven't seen these journals in like 15, 16 years. So I was just reading it. And I'm like, yo, it's so crazy. Like all the stuff I talked about, it almost kind of like happened exactly how I talked about them.
It's manifestation, but that's biblical. Speak those things as though they are.
Yeah, because absolutely. Because like the thing is, when I first started playing basketball, I didn't think about the NBA. I'd never watched the NBA game until I got to like the 12th grade of high school. You know what I'm saying? Because I used to always be in the park. I used to always be in the streets. So, and that's the time when the NBA games was coming on like every Sunday or something. So I wasn't upstairs watching TV. I was in the park, in the street. So the NBA wasn't the goal. It was just something like basketball. I just fell in love with it. Mace, when I moved to Harlem when I was 8 years old. I met Mace, and he took me to Rucker Park, and then I fell in love with basketball. Then in the area my mom's moved to, I grew up with, Mace, Cameron, Ali Mo, Jerry McCullough, the McCullough brothers, Sean Arnold, the Arnold brothers, OG Juan, that's, Juan Perez, that's partners with Jay-Z. So I grew up when I moved from Brooklyn to Harlem, I grew up in a rich basketball place. Everybody around there played basketball, whereas play basketball, sold drugs, or rap. So when you look at my life now, and when people talk about it, like, man, you famous or people know you, I'm like, it's funny because like they know me because I grew up and I'm so tight and close to people that's my best friends. I touch every genre of what you want to call famous status or celebrity status, whatever you want to call it. I grew up, like, my best friends was Cameron and Ace and Ali Mo, Ali Mo, God bless the dead, Black Widow, you know what I'm saying? And one royalty, Mace and Cam, superstars, the first Drakes, the first that. And then you have me playing basketball. So it's like I grew up in that era and in all that. So, and then at the same time, I had to thank my father, because at the same time, it's not like my name is Mike or John or Al or something like that. Growing up with a name like God Shammgod, it's like, man, you better become something, because your name's going to last. Whether you like it or not, forever, people are going to remember your name. So my mom's always been like, make sure they remember it for your greatness. And, like, when people don't understand, like God Shammgod means savior to thyself, one who's worthy of greatness. You know what I'm saying? And I learned that when I turned like 16 years old. So when you, like you said just a minute ago, when you manifest all that stuff, man, it's hard for it not to turn out how it's turning out.
As you're talking, I am getting flashbacks of my journey with basketball. Number one, you said Sundays, Channel 4, the NBA on NBC was
Exactly.
like triple headers all day.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at your journey, I'm thinking of old Harlem. I'm thinking of 80s and 90s red cars, red subway cars. I'm thinking of Wells Chicken and Waffles. I'm thinking about Jimbo's Burgers. I'm thinking about just all of those things. Do you think that today's New York City point guard ever revert back to all the way back to Tiny Archibald, you, Marbury, Rod Strickland? Because today's basketball player is more traveling. They're not staying. They're not going to St. John's.
Yeah.
Do you think there'll ever be a renaissance of that type of player that played in the PSAL?
I don't think it would be that type of player. It would be an evolvement, because like with everything evolves. So, I try to do my best. There's not one player that has played basketball that's been good in New York City after my generation that I haven't been in the gym with or I haven't mentored. So I just feel it's my obligation, and I wish more of us would do it, but I just feel it's my obligation always to reach back, always to talk to them, always to, like you said, bring that renaissance and let them understand like what it was to grow up in New York. And especially for me, I think it's on me to do that, because that's how my life was built. My life and my accolades wasn't built on being a 7-time All-Star or being Hall of Fame. I'm Hall of Fame to the people, and it's the people that made me who I am, and God made me who I am. So it's like, I feel it's my obligation to be the person that reach back and let them know, like, you could become this, you know what I'm saying? Or you could become more. I want you to be way more than what I was, and what Steph was, what Rafe was, what Shaheem was, but this is the place where we come from, and we took so much pride in it. And that's what I think is different. I just think the pride in where we grew up at, even if you look at Mace, when he rapped, when he first came out, everything was Harlem World, stuff like that. So it's like, we took pride of being from New York, being from Harlem, being from this. But then when you have social media and a whole bunch of other stuff, we was the people that was setting trends, setting everything. You know, when I came up, that's what I tell people, especially for New York, like the era I came up in probably was the best era ever. I have no doubt about it, because when I came up in New York, we was number one in everything: fashion, basketball, music, you know, Bad Boy, Rockefeller, Rough Riders, Nas, you know, you had me, Steph, Felipe Lopez, Kareem Reed, Rayful Austin, Ed Cota. Like, New York was like tearing camps up. Then at a young age, you had Mace. Mace was 20 years old, probably the hottest rapper walking the street besides Biggie and Pac, besides Biggie and Tupac at that time. So, you know, when you think about that, that's the era I come from. That's where I'm cut from. So therefore, that's what I know. And when you look at that era, you look at the kids that come across with me, you know, my son is 27. My son is the same age as the kids I train now, or that's on the Mavericks. But none of them don't look at me like as their father. They look at me as like their big brother or big homie. And it's like I'm in that space that, if you look at Fabulous is in that space. Like, he old enough to talk to the OGs, but he's young enough to talk to, and he's aware enough to talk to the young guys. So he making his right to do that. And that's why they call him the young OG. And that's where I'm at when it comes to basketball and stuff like that. I always say, yeah, I'm the basketball Forrest Gump. So you look at the movie Forrest Gump, and he go through all these situations, all these people he connected with. And one thing God has blessed me with, to connect with some amazing people. And it's like you said, who would have ever thought, like, the first person I would play basketball for and really get serious about is Tiny Archibald, when I didn't know it was Tiny Archibald. You know what I'm saying? Then when you fast forward, it's like I'm playing the best McDonald's All-American game ever, where I'm with people like Kevin Garnett, Vince Carter, Paul Pierce, Antoine Jameson, Stephon Marbury, Chauncey Billups, Randall Jackson, Chris Clark, like all these people, we're still close to this day. And then to go to Providence, you know what I'm saying, go in the Elite Eight, upset big schools, and do a move that's going to last longer than my life. You know what I'm saying? And then when you fast forward that, to go to the NBA, to only play 20 games, to get injured, go overseas, and then be more famous than, or just as famous as people that played in the NBA 20 years, that's going into the Hall of Fame. Then to come back to school and get my master's in leadership, and then, you know, train people like Chris Dunn to be the number 5 pick in the draft, and different players, to then, you know, get a job with Dallas Maverick, with the great Mark Cuban, and, you know, and train players like Dirk, Luka, Kristaps Porzingis, Harrison Barnes, you know, Wesley Matthews, you know, Spencer Dinwiddie, Steph Curry. Like, they didn't have to listen to me, you know what I'm saying? And then at the same time, have enough street cred and be in the street to play in 55th against the Hall of Famers in 55th, like to grow up with Master Rob, Future, Dancing Doogie, Lloyd Daniels, like all these people that they write movies about, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, for me to be immense and be an important part of both, I mean, that only could come from God, to now where I get mentored by, you know, the great presence of a person like Mark Cuban, and getting mentored by, you know, the great presence of Jay-Z, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I have the best of both worlds. And I look at it that way because growing up, I had the best of both worlds. I went to Catholic school and I played in the street. You know what I'm saying? I got to college, went to college and still played in the street. So I had the love from both. So when people see me getting love and see people cheering for me, it's like, yeah, because they all grew up with me. You know what I'm saying? This is not my story. This is where I come from. You know, this is what's in me. This is a Harlem story, a New York story. This is not just when I walk around here and people meet me and they're like, oh, you know, you're so humble, this and that. It's no other way I could be, because I know this is not from me. This is from God. There's no way I could be anything else, because there's not too many people that could say they could walk in both lives of the world when it comes to street and corporate, you know, different things. Be a basketball player in the street and be just as known as he is going to Catholic school, going to college, going to the NBA, and have the same respect from rappers, street people, to corporate people, have the same respect and love. So, that's just a testament to my mom's, the way she raised me, my father raised me.
They say pressure is a privilege. Harlem is a privilege. It's not easy, the swag, the dress, and more.
Listen, Harlem is definitely a privilege. I wouldn't want to be from nowhere else because, like I said, like I always tell people, I got a heart of a Brooklyn guy and the mind of a Harlem dude. And, like, when you have that combination is nothing to play with, period. And when you come from New York, that's nothing to play with. When you come from New York, not parts of New York, like New York. Like, I really lived at some part of my life in every borough in New York City.
You lived in Staten Island?
My father, he had a girlfriend that was in Staten Island. And when I went to Staten Island, I went to Staten Island I lived there for like 3 months because it was like the end of school season to the summer. And that's when I was like, I can't live it because I got to take the ferry back over here. And like, I can't get to where I want to go when I want to because you had to, that's when you had to get on the ferry every place you had to go. I didn't know about like a horizontal bridge and all that stuff. I was taking the ferry, Staten Island, and then, my father's a 5%er. So, most of the 5%ers lived in Staten Island, like Wu-Tang and all of them. So, that's why me, Raekwon, and all of us are so close, and that's why I got so much love for this. So when you look at it, it's like my life has been touched by so many different aspects of entertainment, not just basketball. You know what I'm saying? It's like I connect with Raekwon, Method Man, Busta Rhymes. When they see me, it's love, like it's love. You know what I'm saying? Then besides that, me and Mace growing up, me and Cameron growing up, Jim Jones, like these people, you know what I'm saying? Like these are not people, like I don't know them and they don't know me. These are friends. These are people we call family. We call each other family. You know what I'm saying? We know each other kids, mother. So like this is what I'm a part of, like whether I wanted to or not. And then at the same time, when I went to college, I'm going to college. I live on a block. I live on a street called Crime Square that half of the people on the block is on America's Most Wanted.
Whoa.
So you got to understand, I come from the heart of it. Like, what people don't understand is you can't be in it and not of it.
You talked about playing with Mace and Cam. Y'all played for Riverside Church Hawks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, first we played for Young Life, then we played for Riverside, then I played for Gauchos.
What was Cam and Mace's game like?
Mace was like Pat Bev. Cam was more like Westbrook. At a young age, like 15, Cam was very athletic. He didn't really have like a handle like Harlem, like shake and bake and all that. He was just straight to it. Like kind of like Westbrook, straight to it, very athletic, get to the rim, something like that. Like people don't understand. Mace used to come get me every morning, right? Just to play defense so I could work on my handle and he could work on his defense. He would never like shoot or nothing. He would just guard me. Mm-hmm. Mace is an agitator. So he'd be on the court talking crap, elbowing you, just doing like just crazy stuff.
Huh.
You know what I'm saying? And then Cam was like I said, Cam would have kept playing basketball. He'd have been probably McDonald's on American. Like at 15 years old, in the city champ, he was getting MVPs and all that. They played against Steph and them in the championship and all that. Like, so they was hooping.
Tell me something. You played in the McDonald's All-American game. There's been dialogue about, I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to ask it anyway. The McDonald's class, the 95 class versus the 96 class. Objectively, what were each class's strengths?
No, we had the best class. It's not even close. We had everything we could possibly want. We had the better point guards. We had the better two guards. We had the better big men. You know what I'm saying? That's not even the knock. That's just plain and simple. It's like we have more for Hall of Fame, more people play All-Star game. If you just want to knock it for the NBA. Okay, so now we take the NBA out. Now we talk about culturally. We have more people that too. The only person they got culturally that you would say right now is Kobe. God bless the dead, who I trained, which is well documented. So then I'm a part of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Me and Vince Carter culturally tops that class, but just us two. Not even adding Steph, not even adding Chauncey Billups, not even adding Kevin Garnett.
You up there? You up there?
So that's what I'm saying. So when you argue that, it's like it's hard for me to be objective to it without saying we had the best class, because it's like only person I'm not more famous than in their class is Kobe.
When did you first meet Kobe?
Met Kobe. His father came up to me when I was in 11th grade at ABCD camp.
Hmm.
And that's when he first came back here. And his father was like, yeah, my son don't really know how to dribble, but he got everything else. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then the next day, they put me and him on the same team. And this when I just became McDonald's All-American. So, of course, you know, Ann is in Jersey, so I'm like, I'm the big shit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, cool. They're like, yo, we got this kid from Italy, from Spain, that's going to be on your team. I'm like, all right, cool. But at that time, you know, we young, so we only other country we know is France. So I'm like, oh, a kid from France going to be on the team? All right, cool, whatever. It was him. He came in the gym. He walked like Jordan, talked like Jordan, chewed gum like Jordan. So, of course, when we first see him, nobody likes him. Because they like, yo, he's super arrogant. Who does dude think he is? Walking like Jordan, think he Jordan. But then he gets on my team and he's taking all the shots. And I'm like, whoa, nah, we're not doing that. Like, no, I'm the man. Like, we're not doing that. And then, like, his father talked to me that afternoon because I'm doing all this dribbling stuff that everybody's talking about me in the camp about dribbling. And then I was like, yeah, I'll do some stuff with him. But I was just joking, though. I wasn't trying to do nothing with him. I was like, yeah, whatever. I was like, well, I'll get here at 5 o'clock in the morning and work out before camp starts. And I'm saying that because so he could be like, nah, I'm not coming that early. So I could be like, no. So when I come to the gym, and I never went to the gym at 5, I'll go to the gym at like 6. I go to the gym. He's already in his full-blown sweat. And I was like, well, this is what I do. And I was just showing him how I go through my routine of working on a handle, stuff like that. And then he went through it. And then me and him formed a 25-year relationship. That in the end, before his timely demise, you know, God bless to the whole Kobe family, you know, he flew me in to work his daughter out. That's how close we was, and that's how good of he thought of the job I did with him.
Wow.
And that's why it hurts to this day, because everybody that passed away in the picture, I was training everybody in the picture. I have a picture with me, Kobe, and all the people that passed away in the picture, and the only person that's alive is me.
Whoa.
So to this day, that picture still bothers me.
Wow. Brother, your legacy, his legacy, totally created culture to a whole nother level. And you're seeing it day to day in what you do with the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic, to me, his dribble, you see it, but now you see him, now you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Does he remind you of anyone?
Yeah. He reminded me of a lot of people all in one. And that's how I was intended to be. When I used to show him film and show him clips of like how to change angles and different things like that. That's what it was meant for, because that's how I learned how to dribble. Like nobody taught me how to dribble. I used to watch film, stuff like that, take bits and pieces of everybody, and then I'll put it into me and then become Shammgod. And like when Luka first got here, that's what the same thing I used to do myself, I did with him. I used to take clips of like James Harden, take clips of LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, different people you would never think that I would show him and I would be like, just focus on this, or look at this, or look how he do this, look how James Harden throw a head pass, look how LeBron does this. So what it was just intended for you take the best out of everybody and don't keep none of the stuff that people feel they do wrong. It's easy when you're dealing with somebody that's already a Picasso already, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like if you get $1 million. So the first time you get $1 million when you go to NBA, what most people do, they either buy a car or they go buy the big house, right? So you go get the land, you buy the big house. Now the only thing you gotta do is dress the house up. The house is already a masterpiece. And Luka's already that. Luka's that painting, that canvas where somebody see a wall, and you remember back in the days in New York, where people be like, "Oh man, I gotta tattoo that wall." You know what I'm saying? So he's already that. You know what I'm saying? So if you give him anything little, he gonna turn it into art. It's like when I work with Kobe, you just give him little things. Hey, we need to work on wide crossovers. You know what I'm saying? Right to left cross. Do this, do that. Now everything else is going to take over life of his own because he already who he is. And that's what people don't understand. People think, like most of the trainers, they don't understand. They think you got to train these people to do all this other stuff, do this stuff. No, you focus on certain things. And they're gonna make it their own. I remember I had this tape called Below the Rim. They had like Isaiah Thomas, Magic, Pistol Pete. That's when I first found out who Tiny Archibald was. And I used to watch this thing repeatedly. So I used to watch it. I got to the point where I used to watch it so much, I started watching it in slow motion. So I just wanted to see how people's feet move, how their hands move, stuff like that. Then after that, I used to go practice all these moves. Then I said, you know what? I used to have ankle weights, like 2-pound weights. And I used to be like, let me put them on my wrist. And then I used to do all the dribble moves with the 2-pound weights on my wrist. Take them off, put them on my ankles. Now my arms is flying all over the place because I just took 2 pounds off of me. So then my handle already got faster. And what happened was, what it did was, it had me dribbling out of control. So then I would dribble like wide and long until I adapted to the speed or the weight. You understand what I'm saying? So then what happened did, by accident, it automatically made me dribble wider. So then what happened was, it made me take up more space on the ground. So instead of me doing 3 crossovers to get somewhere, I could do 1 crossover and get somewhere. So that's why I said, is anybody have a job, the biggest thing they want to do is make that job better than how they found that job. You know how like when Tupac say that statement about this sparking the brain, that's me. I would wonder, regardless of what happened, if I'm not the best dribbler ever, I'm gonna spark the brain of the best dribbler ever. Because in their arsenal, they will always have to have the Shammgod, period. You know what I'm saying? And when I say that humbly because like when I first watched dribbling growing up, Isaiah Thomas, Tim Hardaway, all of them, if you look at the way they dribble, they all dribbled in the box. They all dribble with the ball close to their body because it helped them shoot pull-ups. Mm-hmm. You know, even if you look at Ross Strickland, he dribbled straight up, you know, the ball close to his body. I'm the first person to start dribbling wide. Then everybody dribble wide. Me and my man Dean Berry. Dean Berry is the dude that we used to be in camp together battling, and he's from DC, and I used to show him wide crossovers. And then what happened? 5 years later, who do AI credit for showing him the wide crossover? Dean Berry. So then, therefore, I'm a part of that, right?
Mm-hmm. Puma gave you your own signature shoe. How did that come about?
A lot of people probably don't know him. They probably heard his name a lot. Emory Jones, that's Jay-Z's best friend, or one of his best friends. And Emory Jones came to me and he was like, man, this time I was doing a lot of stuff with Adidas and Nike. So he was like, are you still with Nike or Adidas? And I was like, nah, not no more. And he was like, Puma's trying to do a situation and they need a consultant. And I was like, he was like, would you mind consulting them? And I was like, nah, I'll do it. I'll consult him. So then he said, and I was like, what you want me to do? He's like, well, I want you to have a conversation because they're trying to bring basketball back to New York. And I said, oh, cool. So we talked about all this stuff about New York and like where they should do tournaments at, where they should do this, what kids they should go after, what kids that I think will fit their brand and all that. And in the midst of the conversation, like all the stuff I do in the community and how I feel about the community, I guess it sparked their brain because like a couple of days later, Juan Perez and Jay-Z, they called me and they was like, hey, I don't know what y'all talking about, but won't they sign you? And I was like, oh. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds dope. I wasn't gonna say nothing like that, but that sounds dope. It's crazy because it was the year I came back to the NBA and coach. So for whatever reason, I don't know what happened. That's why I said all this stuff come from God. Like I said, it's so crazy because that same year, everybody in the NBA, I mean, of course people do it now, but everybody in the NBA start doing the Shammgod. So now it's different because I'm on an NBA bench. So now when somebody do the Shammgod, they're like, oh yeah, there goes Shammgod right there. He coaches with Dallas Mavericks, this and that. So, and then like even a person like Russell Westbrook that don't dribble, then he did.
Mm-hmm.
So then it took on a life of its own. Then all the kids, of course the kids is talking about this and that. And then Puma was like, man, we should do that with you. So then when I got with them, I was like, I didn't want to sign unless there was stuff in there that I could help my community. Like help Harlem do tournaments, cookouts, different stuff. And I was like, because for me, I'm like, it's not worth it if my community's not a part of it, because these are the people that made me. They was like, man, that's admirable, stuff like that. So then, we got everything right. And, now I got Team Shammgod in New York and, sponsored by Puma. And like I said, we just went off to the races. He said, man, we was thinking about making you a shoe. And I was like, yeah, if I could design it, yeah. And I was like, because I know what my people want from me. So then when I did my shoe, I designed it as a roadmap instead of a shoe. So like my shoe, like the color of my shoe is my high school colors. If you look at inside the shoe, it's me doing the move. They got 1997 on the back. That's when the whole world saw the move in the NCAA tournament. Got GS in the front of the shoe for my name right. I got the concrete on the side because the Michael Jordan 4s was like the best sneakers I ever saw when I was growing up, and they had the concrete on the side, so I wanted that. And they got the zigzag imprints in the front of me doing the move. So, it was just a roadmap to my life. And then they sold out. So then they gave me a second shoe. It's funny because it's like, man, I could have played in the NBA 20 years and never had a shoe. It's like you got your plans and God got his plans, and his plans is always better if you listen and let him do his thing. So because the one time I didn't listen to God, he didn't leave me, but it didn't go how I wanted to go. And ever since then, I always promised myself I would be patient and just wait for him to do his thing. And I'm glad I did do that, because now I'm in the place that I'm in and I'm blessed and everything, because, like I told you, I wasn't thinking about the NBA. And then when I got an NCAA tournament and all that stuff happened with the Shammgod move and everything took over a life of its own, it made me jump out of school a year earlier than what I should have. And then things happen. But one thing about God, he don't leave you. He still walk with you if you have the faith. So now he brought me full circle.
I'm hoping you can answer this.
Mm-hmm.
Kyrie Irving is a sneaker free agent. Would you like to see him join Puma?
Man, that's a good one. I would like Kyrie to be wherever he want to be because, like I said, he's a great basketball player. He's a great individual. I know his father. I know him. And, he's a great person. You know what I'm saying? No matter what was the miscommunication or misunderstanding, he's a great person. He's a great human being. And that's just the person I know. So, I wish him the best on everything, like everything that he got going, everything that he got coming, because from me knowing him personally, he's a great human being. He's a great person, and he means well about a lot of things. So, just hope everything works out for him, and, that's it. Like, from far as I'm concerned, just know him as a person, because I'm a person that believes in hard work. I'm a person that believes in being a good person first and an athlete second. So, that's where I stand with all that stuff.
That's it, brother. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you having me. Keep doing your thing. And like I said, man, sky's the limit. Just got to keep having faith in God and work our butt off, man.
And having fun.
Yes, having fun. You got to have fun in anything you do, because, like my mom used to say, you got to go to school, so you might as well go happy.
Word.
You know what I'm saying? It's all love, bro.
Bless you, brother.
All right, appreciate it.